right into it. Good deal. Okay. Yeah. So I want to start kind of where you're based in right now.
Yeah, I'm in Czech Republic.
Okay. Very cool.
So in Europe.
In Europe. Is that where did you grow up in Czech Republic?
Yeah,
okay.
I grew up there, and that's my base where I kind of returned to.
Okay, so you went you went away for school?
Yes, I went to England for school, but all of my businesses are international.
Okay.
I have very few customers in the Czech Republic, usually US, Canada.
Yeah, and why is that? Just because I know a lot of people that are kind of tapping into this, like why base Czech Republic, and is that a common theme to do business outside the Czech Republic?
Not really, because English is not my first language. So that was first challenge I had to overcome. But the main thing was the opportunities are, of course, in the United States bigger. Also, the pay is bigger. And also, I like the mentality of people that they're more open, they're more hungry, I would say, to try new things. So that's why I started there.
Yeah, and we'll definitely get into where that hunger comes from, because obviously you've got a super cool story kind of based in that realm. But I'm always so fascinated when I get people on this show from outside the country, not only because I want to travel myself, but also it's so cool to see the different perspectives of everything. So even like you mentioned there, like America, like being hungry, some people say America that's very lazy. So why would you ever want to come here, right? And like, yeah, so kind of playing off that, how did you first get exposed to the US, and kind of how did you first get exposed to the opportunities within the US and like started that part of the journey?
Yeah, so I started my first business 3 years ago. I was still 3 years ago delivering food for Uber Eats. That's when I decided to start my first online business, which was having a marketing agency, or SMMA.
Yeah.
And basically I had a choice to either do Czech Republic, where I would get paid $500 per month per client instead of $2,000 per month per client, for example. Also, I would need to go through big process of many calls, a lot of sorting if I'm the right fit. Or I could just go to US market, where people were more willing to jump on new opportunities, more open to give shot to somebody who is at the beginning stages. So that's why I decided, hey, let's go all in. And that's like, since then, I didn't have a single client from the Czech Republic where I'm based, but all clients are US, Canada, and we even used to have Australia.
Yeah, very nice. And what are those things look like? Like because in my opinion, like I've always been like, always feel like I'm all in, right? But there's definitely been a more recent period, I'd say in the last 2 years, where, okay, like this is actually all in. What did all in look like for you when you first started, and how has it changed to evolve to now, 3 years later, very successful entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I had a period where I was basically having the dreams but doing nothing towards them. Procrastination, a lot of fears. Am I good enough? What about my English? Do I have the expertise? I don't have the right information and tactics. Let me watch YouTube. So I wouldn't do much for it. But there came a moment when I was still delivering food for Uber Eats. And I saw these guys in their 30s and 40s not being able to afford nice holidays for their wives or children, not being able to take time off when they wanted. And that's the moment, Jack, when I was like, no, we are going all in. And for me, the difference is, are you interested in achieving your goals, or are you committed? Because if you're interested, you do the bare minimum. If you're committed, you will do as much as possible. And that's the day I put myself a 90-day challenge, which were 3 tasks I'm going to do every single day. First one, I will send 10 personalized videos to potential customers to the United States. I would study sales for 1 to 2 hours to get better at speaking, communication, selling. And lastly, I would visualize that my goal, which was back then $10,000 a month, is already a reality. And I did it every single day, Saturday, Sundays. And for 63 days, what happened? I sent 630 personalized videos. What did I get? Nothing. No clients, no money in my bank account. And I know, Jack, that in this case, most people would give up because they're just interested. They just kind of want it. But because I was committed, I knew my time is coming. I knew that few more emails and I'm going to get it. And then in the next 27 days, I actually signed clients worth $10,000 a month, and I hit the goal exactly day 90. So that's for me was the commitment, and it's almost getting on it bigger, this hunger in me, like how far can you go? If this guy from a small town in the Czech Republic in the middle of nowhere can build 3 successful businesses in 3 years, what can I do in a decade? What can I do in 2 decades? And that's almost the hunger, the fire inside of me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I really like how you broke that down, like early on where you were at, you just wanted to get to 10K a month. What, from a technical standpoint, as someone in the industry, right? Like, why cold email?
For me, it was like this. I went after e-commerce businesses, so they are not having usually a phone call, so I can't call them. I was doing Instagram DMs, but it wasn't really getting any attention. And what made most sense to me is like, let me record personalized videos so they can immediately see my name, or they can see my face. They can kind of see my energy. They can see how much I can help them. And that was my thinking behind it. I just thought, hey, this would be a good strategy because I'm investing time up front, not just sending them general email. Hey, I run marketing agency. Do you want my help?
Mm-hmm. Very cool. And another key thing I want to recall to that is you said you focused on 3 things. And this has been big as far as like simplifying the process. What triggered you to say, because we have so many options, like there's so much analysis paralysis these days, right? Because you have so many different ways that do work. And as someone who's done this, and I'm sure you've been in that situation too, the inclination is to do what's hot or to try everything and see what sticks. But personally, I really like that you said you focused on 3 things. What triggered you to just focus on 3 things?
Main thing, as you said, is a lot of people have so many options, and the more options you have, the most likely you will end up doing nothing because, okay, what should I do? Or you just dabble a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I tell people there are thousands of ways to roam. Like people are successful with cold email, cold calls, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook groups, you name it. There are thousands of strategies, and all of them to a certain degree work. The thing is what you want. And I asked myself what I want, and I realized by recording videos, I'm not only getting potential customers, I'm also improving my English. I'm also improving my skill of speaking to camera. So I see multiple benefits. That's why I decided to commit to one. And all the other things like building a website, creating a logo, certain systems, these were all bonus tasks. So when I finish my free task by lunch, okay, let's go and create a website. But most people start with the website and they are actually not doing the only thing that will grow their business at the beginning, which is getting to potential customers. So that was my whole process behind that. Okay.
Yeah. No, super cool. Now let's get into a little bit of the current, what are you currently most excited about? And, let's really start there, both business wise and personally.
Yeah. So the first business, the marketing agency, is now fully automated. I basically spend hour or 2 max a week on it. I have CEO there. I have whole team there because I knew that is not my passion for life. This is not something I just want to put 8 hours every single day. Then also I have software company, which again, I was passionate about until it got to a point where we could sell it. So I decided to sell it. So I have most energy for my passion project. That is Midntrepreneur, which is coaching company for entrepreneurs to help them achieve their goals. And we now coach over 1,000 entrepreneurs worldwide. And that's where my passion goes to. And basically all the personal growth I'm doing is towards this, because the better I get as a leader, as a coach, the more I can impact people. So that's where my heart is, and that's where I'm pouring my energy and time into.
Very cool. Yeah, no, I love to hear you say that. You established things, and then now you've kind of just all with that kind of, was that always the goal? Did you always kind of, when did it trigger for you that let's start with the social media marketing agency? When did you know it's time to automate this? Because it probably didn't start that way, right? And then what does automating that look like? Just for those out there.
Yes, for me, it's almost like, that's why I don't have 5-year visions, because what I've achieved in the past 3 years, to me, 3 years ago, I would tell you, oh, that's probably 15-year vision. That will take me 15 years. So I don't like to limit myself, and I just do my best with whatever is in front of me. So the agency, that was my first business. I never thought about having 2 businesses. But as I started going, I started hiring, I realized, man, like most of the jobs are done by the team. Where I'm bringing most value is the strategy, how to grow it, the next steps. So I started hiring people to the positions I didn't see I bring as much value, or I'm super unique. And as a result, the agency started to work on itself. I just did the leadership. And then one day, people started messaging me because I had quite big success with the agency. So people, can you coach me? And all of a sudden, almost the coaching came as a luck or just as a coincidence. But I just jumped on it, and I really found myself in that. And since then, that was my passion.
Very cool. And just because I'm very curious, what does your agency do?
Yes, so we do Facebook, Instagram, Google Ads for e-commerce businesses. So that's my main focus.
Very cool. And how big is your team behind you?
We are currently a team of 7.
Okay, so 7 people, and you're managing, like, would you say, do you have an idea of how many retainers you guys you typically keep in?
We usually have 20, 30 clients. We are usually between the 50, 100K a month.
Yeah, very nice. And that's based on what you guys generate.
Yeah, because we have percentage deals. Okay. So, Black Friday is nuts, and January is slower. So that's why it's quite a big range where we are sitting, because we have the percentage deals.
Yeah, 7 people managing, 20, I guess, doing the math on that. People can do the math on that. That's awesome. Now, the software company, let's go there. This is something that's been just, I think, naturally it keeps coming up in my circles and my conversations. So I need to start taking interest in it. And I was watching a video about it last night. How did that get started? And walk us through the process. Why did you want to start the software company in the first place?
I see that a lot of people see, oh, that guy started software, I should too, and they almost don't have idea what to, so they try to figure it out. But to me, it came as a solution to a problem. Okay. So we need to track Facebook, Instagram. All of a sudden, iOS 14 happened. Now every app on iPhone asks you, do you want to be tracked or not? So people who would know Instagram or Facebook cannot track them accurately. So we started losing data. The tracking was inaccurate, and therefore we couldn't deliver the best results. So I ask myself and ask experts, hey guys, can we develop a solution that can still track it despite these limitations? And they said yes. And as a result, the idea was born. So it was just an answer to a problem we were facing. And now it's helping hundreds of e-commerce stores track accurately more data. But what I tell people, software is very different ballgame, especially me coming from marketing agency, 0 initial costs, team of 7, quite straightforward business, software, coding, changes. It's like machine for eating cash, let's say. So it's very different ballgame. It's very fun. It can generate a lot of cash. You can exit for a lot of cash, but it's not as easy, I would say, as Some people just seems like, yeah, I started SaaS and we sold it for X amount of money.
Would you say there's a minimum barrier to entry for SaaS?
So the thing is, if you don't know how to code, as it was for me, there will always be initial costs. So at its peak, we had, I think, 8 coders, and that was 40K payroll. And we didn't even sell, back then. So the product is not done, but you are incurring 40K expenses every month. So again, if you don't have some cash flow business, it will be very hard to enter software like that if you, again, don't know coding yourself and you need to hire a team.
Yeah, and just a key point I want to make there, unless you're in your case where you spend time building that cash flow business, right? You spent time building the agency. Now, $40K a month for coders, you can kind of look at, okay, well, what's that agency doing? And like, that's your answer right there. It's not like a lot of thinking. It's like, okay, if my agency is doing $100,000 a month and I'm really serious about this, maybe 40% of the monthly revenue makes sense. But for some people, they need that number to be, 10 or like even more than that, like a million a month. And then they're like 40 to 100K a month to develop software makes sense. So it's definitely like, I think there's a risk tolerance there and just like what you're comfortable with, but certainly using the fact that you built a vehicle first and then got involved. And now because you had the capital, you had time to learn it. Who would you say you learned the most from on the software side?
It was definitely the customers or beta testers and the developers team, because they had the knowledge, they had many successful projects, so they could just tell me what's possible, what is realistic. And then the beta. So I wasn't following some software gurus on the internet. I was almost like asking my developers team and the beta testers guys and kind of figure out what would be the best to do next steps. Because as you mentioned, I wanted to make sure that it's self-funded. I didn't want to kind of take investors and almost become employee in my own business.
Yeah, of course. And that's a topic I want to dive into. Now, let's talk about Mindtrepreneur, and then we'll go kind of, I want to hear more like your business kind of expertise. But yeah, take us through Mindtrepreneur. You said it kind of came to you naturally. What would you say are like the core components of what you're providing value on within that?
Mm-hmm. So we are focused solely on entrepreneurs, whether we have multiple, whether they are forex traders, agencies, dropshippers, consultants, all of these businesses that usually are online. And we realize this, Jack, that most people have all the information. Most people know how to grow their business. Most people know how to get in shape. Most people know how to get productive. Most people know how to get more things done in less time. But why they are not doing that? That was the question we were asking, because I bought a course for the agency when I started, and there was like 3,000 people. But how come I was among the 50 that actually went and achieved certain goals? I didn't have some secret section in the course. I didn't have some secret video that the other 3,000 people didn't see. It was just that I was willing to apply it, and I used certain strategies that wasn't necessarily business, more mindset. And so we are helping entrepreneurs to overcome these blocks, whether it's fear, procrastination, whether it's doubts, a low confidence, so they can go and smash their goals. So we are coaching people who are total beginners, but we have people who are in the Forbes list. So we have very range of people, and all resonate with this, because we tell people tactics are important. They are 10, 20%, but 80% is mindset. Are you applying it? Are you actually going out there rather than procrastinating and all of the things most people do?
Yeah, it's so funny. Just even the way you phrase that, like, why, if we all have all the answers, like, why, what holds people back? I just had, well, it hasn't released yet, but I had Arlen on the podcast, and that was like one of the things I asked him. I was like, why the limitation? Like, what holds people, like most guys our age back, and women, like guys and girls, but like just in a professional setting, because you can talk to people and a lot of times so clearly tell how bad they want it. And then you just kind of like, they look around and they know they're not doing what it is. what was it for you before you saw success that you had to overcome the most? Like, what would you say was your biggest limiting factor?
I would say a big one was fear of being rejected.
Okay.
Because I see a lot of people, or myself, I was so afraid of getting no. So as a result, I wouldn't do the actions to get on a sales call, or then I would ruin the sales call. So being afraid of being rejected, I was insecure about my English. And another thing was just wasting time on social media, usually comparing myself to some gurus, seeing, oh, this guy is already making 100K a month, he's younger or whatever. And almost that made me discouraged. And again, I took less action. So those were these major roadblocks for me.
Very cool. And now just kind of take us back a little bit. You talked about a small town in the Czech Republic. What was your environment like growing up, and how did you kind of land on business as what you wanted to pursue? Or entrepreneurship is really what I should say.
Yeah, so nobody in my family is entrepreneurs, so they have no idea how I became one. But for me, the turning point was age of 18, reading the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, that sparked the idea, hey, I want to have a business one day. But I thought I need to have this amazing big idea, like Tesla, new Apple, that's what I need. And then when I started realizing how the internet made it so simple, I'm not saying easy, but simple to start a business, to start providing services that don't have much barriers to entry, doesn't have much cost to start. And I just realized, man, honestly, I believe anybody can be successful if they follow certain principles.
And take us through what you think those principles are.
For me, first is vision. Most people don't know what they want. They said, I want to get rich. What does it even mean? Like, you want to make 2K, 5K, 5 billion? So almost knowing what I want was for me so crucial, Jack, so I could optimize for it. My goal was 10 grand. It was just so clear. I knew what I need to do to get there. So vision. Second, you need to know your reason why you want it. For me, it was very personal, which was I never want to sit on the fucking bike ever again and deliver food for somebody. But to me, it was so strong that I'm not going to miss a day on the 90-day challenge. Third, you need to have a plan. To me, 3 actions. I'm basically whole year on some type of 90-day challenge. The only thing that changes is the tasks, but the principles are the same. Next 90 days, I'm doing 3 tasks that I believe will get me closer to my vision. And last step, most important one, you need to ask yourself, who do I need to become to get there? Because I knew that the insecure, broke, not feeling confident me as a student would never achieve my $10,000 goal. I first had to become a business owner in a way. I had to start acting like a business owner. I started to have thinking like one. And then I got it. Because people have it backwards. They tell me, Vash, I will be confident once I sign the first client. But you're not going to sign the first client until you feel confident.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, who do you need to become to achieve that vision?
Very cool. And I know there's a few different ways we could kind of think about those things. One thing I've heard you mention in your previous interviews is you meditate an hour per day, correct?
Yeah.
Take me through that. I want to kind of you don't have to give me all your insights, but let's start in the morning. Kind of what are you focused on? I'm assuming that's when you would do it, but your first meditation of the day, what are you focused on? And do you recommend silence or sound within meditation?
Mm-hmm. So to all of my students, I recommend minimum 15 minutes. You don't need to go as deep as me. I just want to walk the path so I can then better teach it. But 15 minutes in the morning is amazing. And I give people my own guided one. And the process is like this. It's like you spend half of the time silencing the mind. Because if you start immediately visualizing, the mind is very active and it tells you it's not going to happen. Man, like you're so far away. So it's still talking. So I spent first 7 minutes just focusing usually on the breath, just to getting very silent. And after the 7 minutes, I start walking people through their, let's say, goal. So imagine if your goal was already real. Imagine it in detail. Who would you speak with? Who would celebrate the success with you? And I let them visualize it over and over again, because when we visualize, we don't know the difference between what is really happening and what we just visualize. And that's how I achieved my goal as well, because I never had $10,000 in my bank account before. So when I set the 10K goal in 3 months, I didn't believe it, Jack. And if I didn't believe it, I wouldn't take any action. But what I did is every day, as part of my 90-day challenge, I would visualize for 15 minutes that my goal is already a reality, that I'm celebrating it with my parents, I'm taking them vacation, I see that amount in my Stripe. And what happened maybe day 20, day 15, I started to feel like I already have that money, that I already earned that money. And as a result, I was more confident. I would show up differently to sales calls. I would take bigger action. And that's a key. So my meditation for anyone would be 15 minutes. Sometime focus on silencing the inner critic that is always talking. And then spend the remainder of the time creating a scene that would confirm that you already have achieved your goals.
Very cool. And one point I want to make on there, because I know a lot of people who hear that, they're like, oh, yeah, especially if they're not exposed to meditation. One thing I've noticed is just kind of just like a limiting to even try it. And I have a big saying on here where like 99% of people who say something doesn't work have never actually tried. And I think that's so big with mental health in general, but especially on the meditation side, because once you like, it's just one of those things that's so hard to describe, but you know, once you try it, like you said, you hit day 15. How are you supposed to hit day 15 if you didn't do day 1 and then you didn't do day 2, right? You know, and it's very interesting, but I highly encourage to anyone listening to this, you know, like we talked about, focusing on 3 things or focusing on a couple things makes plans a lot easier. You just outlined like a way you could go about a 15-minute meditation of 7 minutes silencing the mind, focusing on breathing, 7 minutes picturing exactly where you want to be and what that feels like. A common theme that comes up is what does it feel like, and how did what you pictured it feeling like and how it ended up feeling like when you hit that first 10K a month? Like, can you walk me through any differences you noticed potentially?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so now let me add a few benefits for all the listeners. Is first, even if you did just a 7-minute meditation, just the silence one, you would become better at focusing during work. You will be more present. You will be less reactive. Already this will make you better human, better entrepreneur. So already there are so many benefits. And every time I visualize my goal, I would feel so joyous, so excited, so inspired. So when I opened my eyes, I was like, let's win the day. Let's go. There was this energy inside, because emotions are just energy in motion. So I would take more action compared to people who just wake up, okay, let me start my day. And when I then achieved my goal, it was almost just magnified. Because when you visualize, you try to add details, but when it really happens, it's almost more vivid, right? You can really feel it even more. So it was just amazing. The whole journey was incredible. And I use visualization every single day because I just believe it's a fast track towards your goals.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I've been a big believer in speaking things into existence. I'm I'm not like a believer in coincidences. I'm more we have a couple sayings. A couple of my friends, we always say, of course, like when a synchronicity happens. Mm-hmm. And then Abraham Casales, I don't know if you've been exposed to him at all, but he was just on Nabil's podcast, actually. and he made a comment about coincidences, and he said, coincidences and synchronicities are just like God's way of staying silent or discreet. Anonymous. He said anonymous. Coincidences and synchronicities are God's way of staying anonymous. And that really stuck with me, because like when you are doing the consistent right things, you are pursuing your passions and stuff, it's just natural that these certain things will happen. And meditation's been a big part of that. Like you said, when you picture something in your head, don't be surprised when the opportunity presents itself to achieve it in the outside. Because you're going to think about, in my opinion, you're going to think about other things anyway, right? So like based on your external reality for most people, like whatever's happening is like going to go into your head. And if it's not consistently good, you're just going to consistently think your life is bad. But it's actually like there's an opposite effect. You can program it up here, and then naturally, consistently positive things will happen on the
exactly. And if we take it even outside of some law of attraction that at some level I believe is working, but if we take it even more scientifically, we have all the RAS, the reticular activating system, which is like a filtering system, right? And so if we are consistently showing us, this is important to us, this is important to us, this is important to us, almost the filtering system will start looking for confirmations of it. So maybe you're in a restaurant and you will hear somebody speaking about investments. And the whole time you wanted to make an investment. So you will start hear things just because you have a clear target. Compared to if you don't have any goal, you don't know where you're going, somebody could be speaking about amazing opportunity, but you almost don't hear it. You're filtering it out because to your brain, it's not important. So there's another way how meditation visualization works is you show yourself consistently what you want, and your filtering system will find confirmations or informations that will get you there closer.
100%. And just even outside of meditation, like you talked about earlier, you struggled with, just social media and consistently comparing yourself. And another thing, like you can now, the power of technology is the exact same. You can have your social media show you things that are advancing you to where you want to go and are visualization tools, and they're people that inspire you. Or you can keep, the friends from high school, the friends from college that aren't even operating near the same level as you, and keep thinking like, because they took some random trip that they're like ahead of you in life, and like get all depressed about it. Like it's very like you have the opportunity to change. As much as like technology like is distracting, you have the opportunity to make it like exactly like what we're talking about. Reprogram your conscious, your subconscious mind. Super cool. Now, some like deeper questions I kind of want to ask you here. What would you say is one thing most people value that you don't?
I would say keeping up with the social media thing, knowing what your friends are doing, what these 15,000 gurus are doing. Have you heard about this guy? Oh, have you watched this? I don't value that because I call it a noise. And there's so much noise. Wake up at 6, wake up at 9. Do keto, do carnivore, do vegan. Right? There is so much noise that is almost derailing us from the goal we are going after. That's why sometimes it's necessary to almost block the noise and maybe choose 1-2 people you resonate with, and you just go all in. For me, when I started, Tony Robbins, that guy, 40 plus years coaching, I even got certified by him as a coach now, because that guy I resonated with, he had something I wanted. And all the other gurus on YouTube, I just blocked them out because I was like, I don't want to let them derail me. The same, on Instagram, I follow 25 people and I don't even go there. I have team there. So it's almost, this is something I don't value that I believe a lot of people value, is just keeping up with the trends, keeping up with the gurus.
Yeah. Now, I really like what you said there about picking a couple and sticking with it. I think that's something that naturally has come up in a lot of these episodes, and probably because, like we talked about synchronicities, right? Personally, I made a decision like 6 months ago around the time I brought the podcast back, to where I was like, I don't need to watch everyone. I was like, I found a couple people that I really believe in that I know are doing it the right way. and it worked for them. And I'm just really want to stick around like those people. And you mentioned Tony Robbins, but I'm curious, like, who are some others that you'd say you do like consistently, I would say provide like go to for value?
Yeah, Tony Robbins, 100%. And then second one for me big was again Joe Dispenza. Both of these guys are OGs. They are 60 plus. They are been teaching this for 40 years, and I resonate with them. But what I realized, Jake, that I had so much information, so much wisdom, but almost now it's time to digest. And I started creating past 6 months a lot of my own frameworks. So rather than Googling what is fear, let's say, let me go to whiteboard and really think about it. What do I know? Where did I experience it? How did I solve it for these students? So I call it the consumption versus creation. That a lot of people consuming, which is good, but it's almost time sometimes to stop and create something from it.
Right.
Really create something new rather than highlighting the quote they said and then repeating the quote. So these are the two people. Honestly, there are not that many others because, as I said, I just put my focus just on these two people and then focus on creating something my own.
Yeah, 100%. It's super cool. And I think one thing that again stands out, like there's constantly this correlation between what the 1% do, and it's always what 99% are willing to do. And it should seem obvious, but a glaring thing that stands out to me as I study and interview so many successful people like yourself is everyone is 100% authentic. Like, yes, they've taken consulting and coaching and whatever. They've learned from others. That's part of being successful, right? But everything they really present and like sell themselves on or teach others is 100% them. And like, I think that's so important, especially like that you outlined that, like just kind of taking a few interpretations, but now you've decided to focus on your own framework. It's where you get the most natural kind of knowledge. People are buying from you. They want to learn from you. So why are there so many creators out there? Granted, they're not very successful, that I can just see blatantly copy something somebody else said or did or whatever. Like those are never the guys. They hit 10K followers or 10K a month and they burn out. But when you're on your level, multiple 6-7 figures, it's like that's where the authenticity truly shows. People resonate.
Exactly. I agree, because there's so many people that 6 months ago they were coaches and now they're not coaches, or they were doing this kind of strategy helping people with, and they totally do something else now. So it's almost like people just go after the shiny things. They try it for a month, for 2 months, 3 months. It doesn't work, so they jump off. It's really finding what is true to you. Right. If somebody told me that I've taught over 1,000 people to meditate every single day, I wouldn't believe before. But yeah, people are open to it. When you really own it, you become really expert at what you do and what you help people with. Yeah, people will resonate with it and they will ultimately get the results.
Cool. And now you said you coached over 100, or you're currently coaching 100,000 people. You said
1,000.
1,000. You're currently coaching 1,000 people. Not small beans by any standpoint, but for the coaches or the current business owners, maybe they're thinking about getting into coaching, or current coaches, what's like the greatest piece of advice you could give them based on your experience so far?
It's almost, you need to be really, really good at identifying what these people need and give it to them in the fastest way, because there are millions of ways to get people results. But if you teach them, let's say, cold email, you have business strategy, but they're not applying it, you have a problem. You're not going to get testimonials. You're not going to get results, not because you're teaching you are terrible. It's because people don't actually apply it. So I tell people is always solve the most immediate problem. So to us, all of our students, they know what to do. They have courses on their business model. They have YouTube videos. But we found out a problem, which is they are not applying it. So we are helping them overcome these limitations and apply it. Because I see a lot of people giving them amazing tactics, but people don't apply it, therefore they don't get referrals.
Yeah.
So that would be my advice, is really resolve the most immediate problem so your students can get the best results.
And what would you say is the key to igniting action for those current coaches? Like, because I think you labeled a good point. A lot of coaches are great about presenting information. Some of the worst ones out there I've seen, they're just like, oh, they bought all the information, but they didn't apply it. So it's not really on us anymore. And in my opinion, the only way you get results is when you trigger action, like you said, action and implementation. So yeah, what would be your advice on that, kind of motivating someone to do that?
Yeah, I would say for the coaches, they need to take responsibility to the point, did I do my best? Of course, if somebody has the information, they have the tools, and they are still procrastinating, then, you don't need to feel bad about it, because if you go to bed knowing you gave them everything they need to your best abilities, you're good. But you need to take little responsibility. And for me to ignite action, people need to have a vision that excites them, because some people tell me, Vash, I have a hard time waking up in the morning. And I tell them, imagine that tomorrow I will pick you at private jet. We are flying to Cancun, to 5-star resort, and we'll hang out for a week having the most fun. But bro, you need to wake up at 3 a.m. Nobody's going to tell me, oh, sorry, Vash, I'm tired. I can't do 3 a.m. Sorry, I will pass. No, they will be like so excited, they won't go to bed even. How they will be excited.
Yeah.
So that's what I tell people, is like, you need to help them discover what they truly want. And each one of us is different. Some people want money so they can retire their parents. Some people want to travel the world. Some people want to have more time for their hobbies. Some people want to have more time for their baby. Doesn't matter. But helping students discover what they truly want will ignite the fire, the passion inside, that they will have much easier time to implement.
Very cool. I like that. Like finding out their why in a sense, and really, exactly. Like, because they're taking an interest in the person's coaching program, in your coaching program, because they want to get better. And like a lot of times, like, the hardest thing is solidifying the intention. Okay, like what, like you want to do this. There's no questioning that. But there is you do want to find out the why. And I, like you said, like with some urgency, because there'll be a period where they might think, this isn't working, and like that can quickly turn into I quit and I'm out, and this doesn't work.
Exactly. And to add on that one very important one that we are big at Midntrepreneur, which is accountability, because most online entrepreneurs, they sit in their room and there's nobody around them. If they don't do their daily actions, what are the consequences? None. Nobody's going to shout at them. Nobody's going to punish them. Nobody's going to fire them. There are no consequences. So it's easy to slip. It's easy to give up. That's why we are so huge on holding people accountable and also having consequences if you don't do the actions. And as a result, people are consistent. And if people are consistent with actions, they are going to get the results. I don't know a single person who did the daily actions for a longer period of time and didn't get the results. Every single people get the results who don't quit. That's the key.
Yeah, 100%. No, I love that you said that. That's super, super key. The only way to really lose is when you quit. Now, I was about to, I think very laterally, so I was about to jump onto something else, but it'll come back to me as far as the coaching goes. But I want to know, what okay, yeah, this is where I want to go. What would you say is first, what are you currently still in like the arena on that you like in a way of like you're still sitting on the side, you kind of like always think about potentially doing it, but you'd say you haven't actually like taken the steps to do it. Is there anything that comes to mind right now?
I would say we started doing last year 4 in-person masterminds. So 15 of our best students, basically we rent a villa for 4 days, and 4 days we intensively coach them. And it's a big passion of mine. And kind of the idea I'm sitting on that will get realized in the upcoming months, maybe years, is basically events, not just for 15 people, but let's say 200 people, picking a nice location. Because I feel that for online entrepreneurship is beautiful because you can do it from anywhere, but almost the human contact. Like when we do the 4-day masterminds, like people love it because they have 15 like-minded people. They can share things. They can just learn from them, mastermind together. And so I believe there's a component missing nowadays, which is people would love to hang out with other like-minded people. So that's something I'm sitting on.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, no, I like that. And it's a good point you make, man. Like, personally, there's just so many, like, online, you can even meet, there's part of my company I meet with every single day, but you still, I just went out to see, like, my main partners with it and met them in person for, like, the second time. But it was like, as soon as you show up, like, for the week I was with them, it's like the dynamic is different. You're just so productive. Like, and that's only 2 people that I know are, part of the time thinking along the same lines as I am. So it's like, imagine what happens when you get 15 guys all work in similar businesses, or, you're the common contact point for a lot of these guys. So it's like, oh, what have you learned from Vash, and what can I learn from him? And, I think that is a super powerful thing. Obviously we've gotten a lot out of this conversation today. Like, so far, there's a couple more places I want to go, and then we'll kind of wrap it up with, like, the last question I usually like to ask people. But where I was going to go was, what would you say your biggest, what was the biggest turning point for you? Like, what would you say was the key? Actually, I don't want to go there. Actually, we've kind of been over, like, the biggest turning point. What was the biggest adjustment you had to make, or, like, mental switch, you'd say?
Mental switch was going from the freelancer to leader. You know, because at the beginning you do everything yourself, and you're used to kind of being very quick, replying to managing the clients, responding to clients. But then, of course, your time is maximized and you are almost hitting ceiling. So you start hiring people who start taking these jobs for you. The mental shift I had to be is trusting them and just knowing that this part is taken care of, because a lot of people tend to micromanage or overcheck or being impatient or stressed. So for me, it was the switch of freelancer to leader that really allowed me to go from the agency to 10K to 50K to 100K in monthly revenue.
Yeah, that's the best. I'm big on this. I've really built what I built based on that, like, same method. It's just like, you constantly innovate and, like, find people that do things better than you do. And there's a reason the top 1% of guys are saying this. And it's like, it's crazy because I think people watch it, and, like, I've been there, you watch it on, like, YouTube or something, and you kind of feel like, oh, but I still have to go through all these things that they went through. Whereas in my head, I'm like, the only reason they're telling you that is to provide the value into you can get there a lot faster. Like, hey, I realized, just you even saying that, a lot of people are going to relate and be like, oh, wow, I really am working in my business a lot. Are these things, and are there resources for me to outsource this? And do I have the means to do it? And if the answer is even remotely yes, it's like, that's how you scale, right? And I think one of the greatest things I ever heard was, like, businesses that clear a 20 to a 30% profit that you're 80% away from are very successful businesses. Like, and you can stack those just kind of using that same, like, even using the 80-20 principle, right? Like, spend 20% of your time with each business, focus on what really matters, and outsource the other 80% that's necessary, but isn't generating, the maximum, like, isn't maximizing your potential, I think is a big thing. So now this one I like to ask, what's one question you have for me?
That's very good. So the question I have for you is, if you think about your goal, okay, some goal that you want to achieve, what would you say are 3 things you need to change to get there?
So I'm glad you brought this up because it's, like, very fitting for this week. But 3 things I need to change are, I like you talked about, like that consistent outreach. I think I need to do more. Like you mentioned 10 videos, and yeah, it's like having at least 10 intentional conversations a day.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think about that for things I can definitely do the next 90 days, right? 10 intentional conversations a day, video, cold email, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I need to really just, and I actually wrote this down today, not do anything that's not directly related to that goal until the goal is finished. Mm-hmm. So it's like every intention I have has got to be from this day forward, for the next 90 days, for the way it's been, towards that goal, right? And everything mm-hmm. outside of that doesn't really matter until I hit this, because that's how I've kind of decided what my most important goals are, is what is worth focusing on, that the other stuff can really just, take the back seat from. So I would say, having 10 intentional conversations a day, locking in on just the goal and like intentionally going after that daily. And then third thing would, for me, it's patience. I think mm-hmm. it's including more ways to become patient, like trusting myself more, I think. So like, I guess action, how can I create like an action item with that? I would say, okay, this is a better one. Tracking my progress. So 3 things mm-hmm. I got to do: track my progress, work on the intentional action just on those types of goals, and then the third one, 10 intentional conversations. So yeah, that's good.
Love it. And patience is a big one. And what I really like to do for anyone listening is I use the visualization, as I said, to feel like it's already done, right? And when you feel like you already have the goal, it's almost, you feel you already have it, so you're not obsessed. When is it going to happen? How is it going to happen? Man, it's day 55. Why is it not here? No, because you feel you have it. So then the daily actions you do for the enjoyment of it, for the love of the game, right? You just do it because you love it. You enjoy recording the videos. You enjoy speaking to your team. You enjoy meditating. You enjoy jumping on podcasts. And that's what I want for people, because some people sacrifice the journey for the destination. But you will achieve the goal, and how long you enjoy it? 2 days, 2 weeks? And then you go on to the next goal. So most of the time you will spend on the journey. So I tell people, enjoy the journey. And then once you achieve the destination, you will enjoy it even more. But love the journey.
Love the journey, because each destination is going to become part of the ultimate journey. And it's something that I think it gets lost on us personally. I think it's because how, at least in the US, how the system is structured, like to just mm-hmm. go through this year, achieve this goal, go through this year, achieve this goal. And fourth grade matters more than third grade, and fifth grade mm-hmm. matters more than fourth grade. And it's like, they just kind of ingrain that in you. And then mm-hmm. at college, it's like, you have degree, go get job. And that's your ceiling. And with entrepreneurship, and the reason it's always attracted me is just, no, it promotes there's no ceiling on how good you can get. It's just a matter of how much are you willing to embrace exactly where you're at, and take that as no, the fact I get to do this, the fact I get to hop on and have a conversation that personally I've had my pen out because I've mentally writing out a few things you said, that gets so much more growth, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. That could be maybe a goal of somebody out there is to have you on their podcast. And it's right. The next goal after that, no, it's the journey to get to prep for this. Exactly. That was a big moment for me with Arlen, right? The journey was to prep for that. And it was so cool. Mm-hmm. And the interview itself was very, not it was great. It was just after it very empty. You're not empty, but you're just wow. It was really the process to get there that stood out. So Vash, I really appreciate you taking the time, man. I want to know, where can we find you? And what's the best way to get involved with what you're building here?
Mm-hmm. If anybody has any question, go just to my Instagram, which is Vash, that's VASH _Tomanec, TOMANEC. The same way I'm on YouTube, so you can watch some YouTube videos. And if you want to just learn more about Mindtrepreneur, what we stand for and how we help people, just go to mindtrepreneur.com. And these are the best places to find me.
And that link will be in the description. So I'm going to make a point of that. Super cool, man. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for your time, man. Enjoy the convo.